in every play.
Go and stop, and then
Well, it's for video, so they wanted it in one take.
one take. Okay, let me see. I'm going to talk about race relations, internationalizing the economy. How long is this supposed to be?
She never really told us, man. I can ask if you want.
Let's just see how
It's
long.
for a
it goes.
capsule, so whatever
Okay.
length it is. Yeah. Okay. Ready when you are.
For the past 7 years, what we've been trying to do is prepare Atlanta to be a true leader of the 21st century. In fact, we've thought of Atlanta as the next great city of the world. And we think that the kind of foundation that we have laid should be a launching plan from which Atlanta can continually evolve as a truly great city. I think the first thing that we worked on, and that I've been working on most of my adult life, is race relations. This is a city that was roughly half and half black and white, with new immigrants coming in significant numbers from both Asia and Latin America. But because we had worked to become a city too busy to hate, and had gradually learned to live and work together, politically and economically, I think we laid a kind of foundation where people were proud to be Atlantan, regardless of what color they were, and where people felt that they were a part of something very good. A part of that was a lifestyle of courtesy and gentility and communication that transcended all racial and ethnic and religious barriers. Atlanta was a fun city, a kind of place where young people enjoyed living and working, a kind of place where we wanted our children to grow up in peace and prosperity. And that was based on a foundation of good human relations. We always disagreed, but we learned to appreciate our diversity and learn from our differences rather than be threatened by them. I think that was the thing more than anything else that made us different from most cities in the world today. I hope that foundation has prevailed. In fact, I hope it's developed, because I think that's the key to helping Atlanta become a truly international city. And that's the second phase. We presently have about 470 of the Fortune 500 companies. But other than Coca-Cola, most American business has been largely nationalistic. And there's very little exported right now from Atlanta. And so beginning to build our city as an international economy has been quite a challenge. We have seen it grow in the last few years to the point where now in Georgia we have more than 1,250 foreign businesses that employ more than 80,000 citizens. We have attracted, in the last 6 years, about $67 billion worth of investment. And I would say that about a third of that is from Europe, about a third from Asia, and about a third from within the United States. You have to cut it. The international dimensions of our city, particularly our economy, I think are pioneering. America has had a very strong national economy. We have not depended on exports. But that's one of the things that we're having to learn to do. We're having to learn to export those goods and services that have developed our quality of life and lifestyle, and share those exports and ideas and products with the rest of the world. And I've tried to mobilize the city to be a gateway to the rest of the world, particularly to the world of Asia and Latin America and Africa. I think in the 1960s to 1980s, the United States has, by and large, attracted new investments, and it has pulled in ideas largely from Europe and then later from Japan. And presently we're on the verge of what might be a kind of protectionism or a rather difficult period where the European community is becoming one almost United States of Europe, and Japan, or Japan Inc., as we say, is the dominant financial force in the world today. But still, it's the American marketplace which makes it possible for Japan and Europe to survive. And it's still America from which the leadership of the planet comes. We're the only ones with the ideals, I think, and the commitment from a Judeo-Christian heritage that gives us a sense of responsibility for the rest of the world, particularly for the least of these God's children in other parts of the world. We make up the world in miniature, whereas Europe and Japan are still rather homogeneous societies. And so it's out of our diversity and out of our being the planet writ small that I think the leadership for the planet must come. And so we've tried to become a gateway for the developing world, for the ideas and products that will help wipe out hunger, that will help wipe out disease, that will provide an opportunity for education, cultural enrichment, and physical and human development all over the planet. The 30% of the population that exists in Europe, America, North America, and Japan and the Soviet Union cannot solve the world's problems by themselves. It's only as we reach out to the 70% of the world that still remains in Latin America, Africa, and Asia that we have a chance. This is a period of the globalization of our economy. And that's been one of our objectives, and I hope that as we open this capsule, we will look back and say that we knew what we were doing, and we set not only Atlanta, but the Southeast region and the United States of America off in the right direction. The kinds of things we're talking about now that I hope will be fulfilled were suggested by a global infrastructure fund that came originally from Mitsubishi Research Corporation. A notion that certain major projects like the sea-level Panama Canal or land canal across Panama, a natural gas pipeline that would extend from the Cameroon and Nigeria right up across the belly of Africa into Algeria and under the Mediterranean into the European marketplace. Hopefully we will have achieved some of those projects, and in doing so we will not only have generated significant economic activity, but we will have provided the fresh water and the electricity and the roads that will wipe out hunger and disease in that part of the African continent. The internationalization or the globalization of our society is a very important theme growing out of Atlanta in this year, 1988. If we're going to be a truly world civilization or a global city, we're going to have to do a lot more educationally. And one of the challenges of this city with some 29 institutions of higher education is to develop the kind of education system, and particularly to develop public education so that every young person in this city has an opportunity to grow and develop to the maximum of their potential. And so working with our schools and working with our universities so that people who are trained through the public schools and colleges of this region can go directly into a workforce and be productive in a high technology economy or an information society, or that they have about them the kind of entrepreneurial initiatives that allow them to start businesses and develop the creative new ideas and products that are marketable in the world in which we live. But that's going to require a kind of adjustment and shift in our method of education that we have not seen for the last 50 years. Education today is still pretty much as it was 50 years ago. I hope in the next 50 years we will have found a way to make some creative and productive and successful changes in the way we educate young people and the way we continue the education process on into adult life. For one of the things that's already apparent is the extent to which we will have to serve in multiple careers. I think I've been in 6 or 7 careers myself, and I'm not through yet. So it's not unreasonable that adults who are living close to a century would, in the course of that, be involved in 8 or 10 or 12 different careers. That means a style of continuing education, which has got to be institutionalized in our society. And that's one of the goals that we're working on. It's almost a kind of cradle-to-grave concept of the human being as a learning, studying, developing entity or being. And hopefully our society can facilitate that process. Now, all of this has got to be based on some work. And one of the things that's happened to us is that we've become more a service economy, emphasizing computer programming, financial services, bookkeeping, lawyering, and our manufacturing capacity is presently in decline. And so one of the things I see us having to do is to restore our manufacturing capacity. And that doesn't mean in every area, but it means that we will have to continue to make some things locally for our own use and for export. And the manufacturing skills that are necessary for mass production become an important ingredient in our development. That is, we will lose those skills if we don't continue to evolve our manufacturing capacity. And so I'm looking to ways to help develop and advance our manufacturing capacity. Now, finally, there are some environmental and infrastructure things that I hope we will have accomplished by the time you open this capsule. One is, I think we're clearly going to need a new airport. I expect air travel to be supersonic by the turn of the century. And so an airport like ours, right in the middle of town, just 12 miles from the center of the city, is probably going to be a difficult place from which to operate supersonic travel. So I'm trying to purchase land 30 miles south of the present airport in the vicinity of an outer perimeter that will be approximately 30 miles beyond the present perimeter that's now Georgia 285. And that new land will not only provide a modern supersonic airport for Atlanta, but hopefully the location will be strategically placed so that it will impact further development of Macon and Athens or Augusta, and that we will see middle Georgia begin to develop economically because of the new airport, the way we have seen Atlanta and North Georgia develop because of the present airport. I suspect that our mass transit system, MARTA, which now stops at the airport, will go on down another 30 miles to connect with a new airport, and that probably mass transit facilities will be available all the way from Macon to Athens and Rome, and Gainesville, or Cartersville, and Columbus, that we will have a truly metropolitan Atlanta rapid transit system. Our environment, I think, can withstand the strain. We are very protective of our water resources, of the trees and the natural environment, and I hope that we will have found some answer to the problems of continuing effusions of carbon monoxides and dioxides that presently seem to be impacting the ozone layer and potentially doing having a serious impact on our climate. Finally, Atlanta has got to remain, and I hope we have remained, a faithful city. We are what we are because of the blessings of our Creator. We understand ourselves as a people under God, struggling to achieve liberty and justice for all, and in an environment of freedom where we each have the right and opportunity to pursue our own happiness while still maintaining care and concern for those who are less fortunate. And I hope that the religious values, the concern for others, the concern for the least of these God's children, the ability to see all creatures as children of the same Father in heaven, our Creator, I hope that those values are retained, and that somehow man, woman, and child, as spiritual beings, still remains a part of the thought and fabric and life of this city. Atlanta struggling to be something of a New Jerusalem in a spiritual sense, where somehow the lion and the lamb can lie down together, where men and women will have beaten their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks, where we will be able to somehow enjoy peace and prosperity in the midst of a society of freedom and justice. Thank you very much.